Let's talk about the Maryland Association of Christian Schools Administrators Retreat 2026.
This episode of the Christian Principles Podcast is brought to you by the Herzog Foundation. And as always, the thoughts and opinions expressed within this episode are those of your hosts and not necessarily of the Herzog Foundation. Welcome to the Christian Principles Podcast. I'm Matt George.
And I'm Mark Zockoll. And right now, my biggest fan and the person I'm the biggest fan of is Jonathan Bradford. Jonathan Bradford gave us a very pointed praise, but mere moments ago, and I was humbled. I was humbled.
Well,
I was thankful.
Jonathan's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy, and his son, and hopefully he and his son give us 2 listens, 2 streams, 2 downloads every episode we put out. What an absolute blessing. Now, Jonathan made some really nice comments about the pod because today at the Maryland Association of Christian Schools Administrators Retreat, which took place in Harford County, Maryland, we were inundated with fellow podcasts that were vying for the attention of those in the room, even though we passed out gift cards.
We did. Nobody else did that.
Yeah, nobody else did.
Point that out.
But at the same time, we understand. Well, we had the Maryland Family Institute with Mr. Jeffrey Trimbath and his wife Jill, and they were there representing the Maryland Family Institute. But of course, they've started up a podcast.
Yeah.
And then we had Jameson Coppola, who was there with the American Association of Christian School. Of course, he has a podcast.
Of course.
And then as Precept Marketing, who was there actually paying for lunch, which was really nice.
Yeah,
really nice of them. Yeah, they covered our lunch. Precept Marketing and Miss Jessica Panera, like Panera. Panera, like Panera was Jessica Panera, like Panera was there. She brought up the BJU Teachers Edition podcast, which of course we've been on.
Yeah, her ad did not feature us.
It did not.
Kind of was a letdown.
Yeah, the B-roll of her ad was definitely more like D-roll. Should have been A-roll.
Ken Ham and other losers. That
Other people who have no consequence.
Yeah,
They're of little consequence in this life.
we weren't there. But that's
Oh,
okay.
man.
We'll let it go this time.
We're going to go because
We don't want them to go too viral.
we've enjoyed, though, these times of being able to host now 2 times. This is the second time we have hosted the MACS Administrators Retreat. And hosting is really, again, as we said before, a nice way of saying it. Really, we're just emceeing, and then we have... Yeah, we try to keep schedule moving.
Or whatever there is of a schedule.
Yeah, we set the schedule and then watch everybody just poo-poo it throughout the day. It starts with Jameson, moves on to others who just do not care about time restraints, or they're going to get their words in no matter what. So anyway, no, it was a great time. If I thought the pendulum this time did swing a little bit heavy political, but in speaking with different people, I was either affirmed in that, or it was, hey, it's a political time. We have a lot going on in the country right now. We are on the precipice of the federal tax credit scholarship. Within less than a year, being able to be brought to our schools, and Maryland is on pins and needles right now to know if Governor Moore is going to opt into it. There's been 29 as of today. 29 states have
Affirmed. Opted in,
but Maryland is not one of them. So we will see. We were with people whose governors had opted in, though. There was a school from Virginia there today. Candy Barnes with Accomack Christian Academy was there. And we also, of course, saw Brad Parker from Matthews Christian Academy in North Carolina. And both of those schools have opted in. We've heard that the governorship, is Governor Stein or Shapiro of Pennsylvania? Governor Shapiro of Pennsylvania, he is supposedly opting into this program as well. And Governor Wes Moore is at the latest kind of just seeing what's going to happen, which I've heard of a couple other governors preparing in that pretty much in a similar vein, that they're going to see what happens around before they opt in or out. And as has been said a bunch of times, we are hoping upon hope that the money which leaves the state will be one of the biggest calling cards, one of the biggest reasons that ultimately Governor Moore does decide to opt into, or ultimately what pulls he or anybody else who has an issue with this, pulls them into the pro side of the house, so that these federal tax credit scholarships can freely flow in the state of Maryland. So I would say that's enough talking about that, but we talked about that for a lot of the time there.
Kind of dominated the conversations. If the presentation wasn't primarily about that, it certainly touched it at some point in time. And when we had panel discussion questions, that did take up the majority of the time it being discussed. Just because, well, here's the big thing for Maryland, and we've said it on the podcast. So again, we're not going to belabor the point. But even if the reality of Governor Moore not opting in is, that's what's going to happen, we're not going to see this money. It's really important for us to remember that even though we may not receive the money, we are guaranteed to have the opportunity to do something with our tax money in this program. And so if for whatever reason our state or any other state opts out of the program, we need to be vigilant in communicating with our families and using our realm of influence to encourage people when that opportunity presents itself when you're doing your taxes, do use it, do claim it, do put it back into a scholarship granting organization that will accept it, that will affect families like ours and schools like ours to make a statement to our state of how foolish they are being.
Yep. And hopefully we won't have to make that statement. Hopefully do we opt in, a walk away statement for you, our listeners, from this, even this reaction episode is something you might not have attended, would be to get involved with your state house. And especially as school leaders, if you're listening to us as a school leader or faculty member, even being able to, as was said, quantify how many people you are in some level of influence over, it makes the conversations that you hold with legislators, hopefully the phone calls you make or the emails you write, being able to say, I am, as was said, Joe Schmo of you name a Christian school, and I oversee 300 students, 30 students, 5 students, whatever it happens to be. And these represent this number of families from this number of churches. And I have an opinion that I believe the honorable delegate should hear because of that. Those statements, apparently, we've been told by those who know, go a long way. So yeah, so go ahead and make those calls. I also like this statement that was made by Jeffrey Trimbeth that no matter what we do in our current operation, we are touched by the government. In his terms, there's so much government overreach. There's little that we do throughout our days that isn't touched by the government. So if that's the case, whether or not we actually want to be involved with politics or government at all as a leader, we kind of have to be, and we need to be setting aside time week by week to do so, even an hour a week to make an email, to make a phone call, to alert our people, our representatives to our thoughts, to alert them to what's going on in our minds anyway. And maybe that'd be an hour well spent for you. So there's a good walk away.
Yeah.
There's a good walk away for the start of this.
Well, just the big takeaway from this retreat for me that I would add to that is if you've not spent time with a fellow administrator in the recent past, work it out, because that is always going to be, for me, the most beneficial time of this retreat is just rubbing shoulders, sharing stories, sharing blessings, sharing the burdens, challenges with fellow colleagues that are leading other Christian schools. And that time is valuable. That time is encouraging. It's refreshing, which is why we refer to it as a retreat. There's really no other reason why we call it a retreat.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that, if nothing else, the conversations that are had between sessions at lunch are always encouraging and helpful. And, if this was not on my calendar, it would be so easy to just be stuck in my own turtle shell. I don't know why I chose turtle, but I just chose turtle in my own little world and just, just keeping within that. But, we are in this together, and all the more reason that we're a part of a state association. And beyond that, we have our bond in Christ. This was kind of a starting point for us this morning. And we're serving together in Christian education. And so there's no reason to go it alone.
No,
Get involved.
we can honestly say that this podcast for a long time now, I think back to having Brad Parker on and specifically talking about our national organizations. We have called for a long time for you to get to know people. And it was good to the little time I was able to sit back and watch, or just to look around the room and see people talking who I knew they were not fellow administrators. They did not have ties from anything else besides being in the association. That was a blessing.
Yeah.
That was definitely a blessing. And I hope for a lot more of those, as we hope to see the association and associations in that room grow. I know we had a couple of members of the Delaware Association of Christian Schools there, and I know there are some hopes for what DAX could be offering to its membership. So we're excited about that. Excited to, if Maryland can help in any of those ways, to do some of that helping. And we're excited to see, of course, the others who were there from already noted different states. But we were able to bring a lot of information from the Herzog Foundation, as well as from GradeLink Student Information Systems. So we'll go ahead and take a moment now to hear from those partners of ours who helped support us in our time today at the MACS Admin Retreat.
This episode is brought to you by our partners at the Herzog Foundation, whose mission aligns beautifully with ours to advance and support Christ-centered education. The Herzog Foundation exists to catalyze excellence in Christian schools, helping more children experience academic rigor, biblical truth, and strong moral character, all in a safe and nurturing environment. Whether through teacher training, principal development, or strategic media efforts, the Herzog Foundation is committed to helping you, the Christian school leader, fulfill your calling with excellence. Their vision is bold but clear: a national renaissance in Christian education that impacts culture for generations. At the Christian Principles Podcast, we're proud to stand with the Herzog Foundation in that mission. Learn more at herzogfoundation.com. Together, we're building schools and futures on the rock of Christ. And as always, tell them that the fellas here at the Christian Principles Podcast sent you their way.
Ever feel like admission season is just a bit too chaotic? GradeLink can help simplify your admissions process from start to finish. It's all about making it easy to track applications, communicate with families, and keep everything organized in one place. If you want to take the stress out of admissions, check out cpp.gradelink.com and see how it can help your school.
Besides those partners, I will take a moment here to talk about a few other parties who were involved in our administrative retreat today. We were always delighted, always able to say thank you to the ladies from Hartford Christian School who came and did cooking for us. And we're thankful for Mr. Wilson's willing hands, as well as those other who come and set up the chairs and the tables in that facility for us to utilize. Around then, we've already mentioned that Precept Marketing came and had a luncheon. If you are looking for Christian education curriculum, make sure you reach out to Precept to see what offerings they may have in technology or with the BJU Press items they have for schools to consider. We had Summit Ministries represented very well with their contribution of their recently published book, Raising Gender Confident Kids. It was reviewed in the Journal of Christian Education, Journal for Christian Educators, excuse me. It's the most recent edition. That was the book review book. And we were able to pass out a free copy to everybody who attended today. So we're happy to do that. And of course, GradeLink and the Herzog Foundation, we were able to pass out a lot of information for these different places that have been so kind as to give us, goodie bags and our pieces to put in the goodie bags for these administrators and be encouraged in their work and see what is out there to make them stronger in that work. All right. Well, that being said, let's go on to our Christian Administrator Spotlight.
For this episode, we are spotlighting one of the attendees of our Administrators Retreat, which we've been very pleased to have Perry Hall Christian School represented at this retreat. And the head of school, Perry Hall, was Dina Ruff.
Dina, thank you so much for coming today. Let's go ahead and pray for you. You're probably actually on your way back right now for dismissal or something close to it. I guess we're too far away, though, from Perry Hall to make it for dismissal, but at least by the closing of the day anyway. Father in heaven, you are so good to us. We thank you for Ms. Ruff, and we ask your hand of blessing on her and Perry Hall and what they are doing and what they have been doing for so long now in Maryland, to see students raised up in your name and students growing in your name for your glory. You are a good God to us. You give us more than we could ever ask or deserve. And we do ask for safety upon her and the rest of us leaving the institutions that we are leaving our organizational retreat and getting back to our institutions. Again, we are thankful for you. We are thankful for Dina. We love you. Amen. All right, everybody. This has been a shorter one, but sometimes you probably would like a shorter one from us than a longer one. So we'll go ahead and close out here. And thanks for growing with us today.
We want to thank you for listening. We're honored that you spend this time with us each week. Our heart is to bring you practical conversations and resources that really serve you as a Christian school leader. One of the best ways you can help us spread the word is by leaving us a review and sharing the podcast with other Christian school principals you're connected with. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Join the conversation and share any posts that resonate with you. Every share makes a difference in helping more leaders find encouragement and practical tools. And remember, the podcast is just one way we help. We also love serving schools through speaking and workshops. Our keynotes and sessions are designed to give you actionable strategies you can take back to your team and implement right away. If you'd like more details, just send us an email at info@christianprinciplespodcast.com. We'd love to connect. Until next time, thanks for joining us on the Christian Principles Podcast.